Welcome back to Passion Personified, a podcast series where we feature student entrepreneurs and the life lessons they learn. On episode 4, we talk about shoveling cow dung, shifting random vending machines, and the beauty of failure and entrepreneurship. We have Yiting.
Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Hello. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
I'm looking forward to today as usual. I named it Beauty of Failure because of your background in the beauty space, and of course your background in poly as well. When we first chatted, what really struck me is your enthusiasm. Your enthusiasm for your work, whether is it in a company where you're working in Shiseido now, and whether is it in your previous entrepreneurship dealings. I really love enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin.
I'm looking forward to actually tell a story to the audience and everything. Okay, today's focus, will be on entrepreneurship. For those of you that don't know, it just means innovating within a company using certain entrepreneurship tenets. Right? And we basically want to kind of let you know that entrepreneurship is not black and white. Right? It's not just winning or losing, passing or failing, or success or you crash and burn. Right? There's a lot of value in the process and not just the outcome. And I think Yiting's story really exemplifies that. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, let's get started. Let's start with your poly life. Right before you get into entrepreneurship. You took perfumery and cosmetic science.
Yes, I did.
I've never heard of that course before this. Tell me why you did that.
Okay, so I'm not surprised. My course is relatively small and super duper niche. Most people who go in is because they want to study science but couldn't get into applied chemistry, so they go to perfumery and cosmetic science. But for me, it was because I was always a beauty junkie. Okay. Like you can tell looking at me, I've always been somebody who loves beauty products. I love self-care. I love taking care of myself and, the industry in general. I love how it could make you more confident and how, it can just be a part of your self-care routine. So that's one of the main reasons. And as a kid, that was what I liked about it. Yeah. So when I found out there was this course and, a chance for me to find out more about how to make these beauty products, I jumped at it and I went for it.
Yeah, I think I also, in one of my businesses, deal with skincare and cosmetics as well. And I think initially, people might have the impression, right, it's just about outward value, superficiality. I think maybe even when I was young as well, that was what I was thinking, a very one-track kind of mind. But along the way, I realized that it's a lot more to that, right? It's the art of taking care of yourself. It's that some people as well have acne issues. And who am I to say that, hey, just look at outer appearance, when in fact, that actually does affect them. Like having acne issues does affect people's self-esteem. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are some stories you've heard of in the space that really drew you to it, once you got into it?
I would say, thank you for your question. I think that one of the main reasons I totally agree with you is not just, about you can have no acne also and you still would like to have that routine. Like I heard Michelle Obama, she gets up at 7 in the morning or 5 in the morning, can't remember which one, and she has a whole routine where she works out and then she gets ready every single day with makeup on and everything. And all this adds to why she's so confident throughout the day. So it doesn't even have to be about, covering up flaws or imperfections. It's all about having that routine to set you up for a good day, to set you up for a confident day. So I think one of the main reasons why I love this industry so much is that it gives people that. It gives people that chance to get ready for the day and feel confident for themselves. Yeah,
I love it. Right? For guys, I think there are different rituals as well. For me, that's gratitude, that's journaling, visualization. And then of course, if let's say you include skincare and routine, that can be part of it as well. Yeah, and of course guys can use skincare. Everyone has skin, right? That's what we're going to talk about later, about how you innovated in that space, right? Okay, that's a good segue into the next part about your interest in entrepreneurship. Right? It sparked because you went overseas for a module and you did things out of your comfort zone. Yeah, tell us more about that.
Okay, so I was in poly year 2 or year 1 and there was this module offered to us. So you could either do it overseas or locally. And I chose to go for the overseas route. It's called LEX, by the way, anybody in SP. It's called Learning Express. So you can sign up for a 2-week module where they'll send you to, maybe Philippines or Indonesia or any other Thailand. And you will go there to do and help the locals there problem solve. So for me in particular, I was sent to Indonesia, Yogyakarta.
Okay.
I loved it there. If any of them are watching, like I really did love it there.
Yes, promote it to them, please.
Yes,
I'm sure that they remember you.
I'm not sure they remember me, but like I did really love it there. It was so nice. The locals there were amazing. The food was amazing. So I went to Yogyakarta, and okay, I was so before that I've never been to Indonesia, not that I remember of. So I was a very sheltered kid. Sheltered girly. So I went there, and I remember my first experience in the farm. So there was the roof was like kind of like creaking. There were like at night I could hear like droplets of water coming through, and at that moment I was like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? and I remember before going to like this overseas immersion trip, my teacher in charge at that time, he told me, okay, Yiting, your project is to dig up cow shit and make something of it.
Nice. That's how beauty products are made. Not some of them at least lah. Okay, but no, let's get into that later.
Misinformation.
Okay, sorry, fake news. Fake news, guys. Sorry.
So so I went there, and in my head I was like, oh, and when I was really in the thick of it, like digging through the culture, I was really, oh my god, I miss home, and like it was really tough. But I also really understood, some people, they did it every single day. This is something which is part of their routine. You wake up and you dig, and you get it done.
What was it for?
So this was supposed to be for because they had an excess of it. The villagers that had an excess of cow shit, and they needed to make something useful out of this useless thing.
Sure.
Yeah. So in the process of making it useful, we actually came out with 2 different projects for them to make it profitable. So one of them was bricks, and I believe someone in Yogyakarta is currently doing it. It's called Moo Bricks, I think. Don't quote me, but like go and look it up. Very good startup. Another one is called they basically use this cow shit to make it into fuel. So they burnt it and made it into charcoal. And that was a particularly good one as well for renewable sources of energy. Nice.
What did the experience teach you, right? Getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that you're not used to.
I would say that it definitely made my life richer. Like gave me a sense of, okay, so this is another experience to add to my life journey.
Sure.
And it opened me up to the eyes of entrepreneurship in the first place. What being able to start a business could do for someone, and the fundamentals of starting one.
Wow. That's a good transition into the next thing with SPINOFF. Right, this of course is in partnership with SPINOFF, Singapore Poly's Entrepreneurship Centre. How did you come across that, and how did you get started in SPINOFF?
Okay, so as I said, after Lex, I came back to Singapore with like a fiery passion for entrepreneurship.
Nice.
It was like suddenly I was okay. I mean I've always been interested, but now I knew the world of startups. So my teacher in charge at the time told me, okay, there's this module you can take. This module will teach you all the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. It's funny because he filmed the director himself at that time, so it was always staring at him, talking in front of like a whiteboard. And so it was the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. It was a 12-week course, I believe, and then after that you did a pitch on your business idea.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me at the time was men's skincare.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed? What a surprise.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was men's skincare, and so I went around SP campus interviewing people, asking them, okay, so what do you use for your skincare routine? And it was actually quite difficult because it was more of like, I don't use much. I use water and like Gatsby gel.
It's very standard lah. Very standard. Honestly, guys. The stereotype is true lah. You don't use much skincare.
I know. I think that's changing though, Kevin. I think it's like definitely there's a trend. Like,
sure. Thanks for challenging me on that.
Well, you have
the stats. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I assume it's more than just water sometimes.
Yeah, that's because I need to use it because I also have used my own brand. Promote your own brand. Sure. Lovely skin comes from my own brand. So it was a project on men's skincare. So after presenting it, it was a flop because I realized, actually there's a very select few of guys who use skincare, and majority of them don't at the moment.
So at that point, it was shoved to the back locker, but I joined SPINOFF at the advice of my teacher in charge at the time. So because even after, this first pitfall, this first idea which didn't work out well, I still really wanted to learn more about entrepreneurship.
Okay, what was it? I'm curious about that, right? Because people sometimes they meet failure or they meet rejection and they feel a certain sting, right? And then they kind of stop. But what kept you going? Especially, you went out there, so much rejections. Right? Not in that way lah. You know what I mean. Okay.
Yeah, so much rejections, goodness. My heart.
Not used to it, right? Okay.
Yeah, not excuse you.
Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, rejection. So so what kept me going afterwards? I would say it's more of, it's really about wanting to do it on your own. Wanting to, it's a skill which is valuable, no matter what stage of life you are at. It's always for me at that time, it was also because I wanted to try and learn the fundamentals of starting a business. And I felt that one project was not enough also. Sure. So at that point, I remember thinking I wanted to learn more and I wanted to be a part of something like that, be a part of a startup organization, blah, 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 learn more. Okay. And so even in a corporate, even at the time, even if you're at a corporate level, you want to start a side hustle, you will need to know this thing. Right. If you're a student, you have a great idea, you also need to know these fundamentals. So at that time, it was really more of that.
Learning.
Learning and really just wanting to get good at what I was passionate about.
Sure, yeah. I think that growth mindset is something we can talk about, right? Especially, it is one tenet of entrepreneurship, something not talked about. But it is that learning attitude, right? That you don't binarize failure. I'm not sure if that's a word, but you don't make it binary, right? Where it's pass or fail. I succeed, I don't. It's kind of because of that people have a fixed mindset, they don't carry on. But in entrepreneurship, you have to be neutral to failure. You have to be biased to action and neutral to failure. There's no other way, right? And I think you really shaped your ability and sharpened your ability to be neutral to that failure and see it as information to improve. And improve you did, right? You went on to that vending machine. Talk about how that idea.
Okay, so on the point that you earlier mentioned, right? I think a lot of being able to move on from failure is to find meaning in it. So to find meaning in it. So you find meaning in the failures that you've experienced. So in my failures, in the projects that didn't work out, I found meaning in those experiences. So what could I have done better? And what could I have changed? And what did I learn from this experience? And what can I bring forward from there? I think that's an important value. Not to see failures as failures, black and white, you're done, you're zero. But more of what can I learn and what can I bring forward? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when you brought forward that to your vending machine, back again. Yeah, so let's talk about that. I thought that was interesting lah. After you of course didn't start out a men's skincare brand, but you did have an idea of having a vending machine for people in gyms, right? Guys in gyms. That's more.
Yeah, so at that time, I realized there was no demand in, not that big a demand in men's skincare. So from that experience, I learned, what the idea that you have should solve a problem. Sounds very self-explanatory, right? But then that's the whole point. You can't just, see, this is what people need. You have to actually validate and realize that this is something that people would want. Yeah. So then came on to my idea of gym essentials. So at that time, my idea was actually I realized when I went to the gym and when people do go to the gym, they forget things a lot. I don't know if it's I don't know if you do, but when you go out to the gyms to work out, you forget essentials like towels, gym clothes, or maybe you're just spur of the moment. I'm angsty, I want to go and work out. Sure. And you forget your outfit and everything, but you still want to work out. So gym clothes, gym towels, facial wash, skincare, and protein supplements, for on the go after the gym. So realized that there was a demand, realized that there was a need. Okay. So the idea was to put a vending machine with all these items and some men's skincare as well, so that people can,
I just thought it in there.
Yeah, so some skincare. Doesn't need to be just unisex skincare. Yeah, to put it in there as well. Yeah. So the whole idea was that to offer people a place, all-in-one platform to buy things that they may need at that place. And I think the idea actually came from, this whole concept actually came from an idea from when I visited Japan. Okay. So when I was at Japan, the hot springs there, they always offer like beauty products for free. You can use however you like, sample sizes as well. So after you use them, if you like them, you can go to the counter and purchase a bigger bottle. And I thought that was genius. You know, it got people to try the products, really like them, and then purchase them.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the whole concept behind like, you know, supplements, trial and everything.
Yeah. There's a small lesson there, right, on innovation, creativity. I know this is very, very cliche. I use this thing called Scamper Technique. What Scamper stands for? You can Google it, I also don't know. It stands for substitute, combine, modify. So it's basically each acronym stands for something. Thing that is kind of a aspect of creativity. And when you kind of combine all these ideas and modify it in different areas, you can kind of come up with something. And a lot of ideas actually are not super original. They build on something else. And that's what people can do in entrepreneurship. Or if you are thinking about starting a side hustle, what are the problems you can solve? And specifically, what USP or what niche can you actually fill? For my case, Rebound does resilience and mental health specifically, because when I was a freelance trainer, I realized there's no program specifically catered on that. Right? And I knew that mental health was an issue because there are kids coming up to me and saying like, thank you for sharing your story. I think it really helped me. Then I'm thinking like, why isn't this being talked about in schools? Right? This was a couple of years back before the focus now. But my point is that like entrepreneurship really requires you to be aware of what are the problems both on a macro and micro level, and then solving it. You're having that mindset of proactiveness. Yeah, so that is something that, again, you really exemplify. And I hope students can take back, whether they start a business or not. This is very valuable. Yeah. Okay, but of course, ideating and executing is two different things. Yeah, tell us about the execution and what are the challenges?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like after you have the idea and I remember like I went to Malaysia to do thrift shopping to find clothes to put into the vending machine. I went to contact suppliers for like supplements. Some of them are still in the cabinets in SPINOFF now. Like I believe some of them are still here.
You're gonna find it later on.
Expire already, I don't know lah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think my teacher in charge, Raphael, he was really, really supportive in this, and the whole environment in SPINOFF was also very supportive in me, you know, doing this whole project. So they helped me, like the people in like SPINOFF, they helped me reach out, like helped me to write vet through the email and look at how to better improve it. How can we reach out to corporations better? Yeah. How can we make our email more convincing? So it was almost like the whole of SPINOFF was helping me. Like this community was helping me to start this whole thing up. Okay. And so Raphael, he was at Pollinate, and then he saw like a unused vending machine, and then he was like, okay, Yiting, you know, why not you reach out to the founders here and see if you could borrow it. And so after borrowing it, so it was under the conditions, like the startup founders there with the vending machine, they were like, okay, you can borrow it, but you need to test out my payment system. Okay. And when I brought it here, I realized the payment system, there was still some kinks in it. Yeah, it didn't work too well. Yeah, it didn't work too well. So I couldn't, sometimes people will pay, the thing won't come out. Then sucks. Yeah. So it was that kind of a situation. So it was very iffy to execute, bring it out. But then at the time I was a student, I didn't have money to buy
a new vending machine.
Yeah, a new vending machine. Okay. And also there was a lot of black tape in terms of going into a corporate, putting this in a gym, finding a place to put it in, or electricity, the land which your vending machine is going to take up. Yeah. It was crazy. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So and then you have to graduate already, right? By then you're almost going to graduate, and you have to let the idea go. Tell us more about that, letting go eventually, and then of course going to work full time. What made you make the decision to say that, okay, I'm gonna work full time instead of continuing this on?
Okay, I would say, Kevin, when I didn't ever think of it as letting go. It was never a thing where I was like, okay, this is a failure, I'm gonna let go of it completely. It's always going to be in the back of my head, this idea is a very good one. How maybe right now I don't have capacity to do it. How else can I do it in the future? So it's never a black and white, as you said. It's not a confirm, this one is like cannot already.
I love it how we're sticking to the theme of this podcast.
Of course.
Nice.
I feel strongly about it as
Sure.
well. And when I first, so it was more of, at the time I graduated. First off, I realized that reaching out to businesses and reaching out to people in corporate, I wanted to learn how these corporate organizations work and what these are skills which are useful, especially for someone who's intending, if in the future you're intending to work B2B. Like you need to know. So, for example, I'm not sure how many startup owners there are who will be watching this, but if you find that, my emails, no matter how much I send it out to big corporations, they don't respond to them. So then you have to look back. How do these corporations work? How am I structuring my emails? Are they coming off as spam? That's another thing. So am I reaching out to right people? So those are things which which I only learned when I entered the corporate workforce. So I was reaching out to maybe e-commerce manager. E-commerce manager is not the right person to handle this. Have to reach out to marketing. So things like that, like nitty-gritty things which you learn from the corporate environment. And another thing is I also never felt that entrepreneurship would end there. Like going into the workforce, I always knew that, anytime if I wanted to start a side hustle, I still could because I have this experience, because I know how to do it. That knowledge is so powerful. That skill is, no matter how many failures you have, will always be with you. Like it will always be something which you can use in the future.
Love it. Yeah, what I'm hearing from you is that empathy, right? Business is built on empathy, and I think it's very underrated. Empathy is a very underrated skill and hard set. But it's everything, because without empathy, you don't know the problems and you don't know why people do what they do. And business, I think, even for your listening, but one of the biggest lessons I learned in my early 20s, I say until I'm very old. But I mean, one of the earlier lessons I learned is really it's not about you. No one cares about you, right? I mean, except your mom maybe, right? But when you're in business, right, you cannot go in with an entitlement mentality. No one owes you a living. You have to persuade them what's in it for them. Right? Why should you partner me? What's in it for your business, for you as an individual or whatever? And then really have conviction and confidence that you can deliver that value for them.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get business and get people on board. And I think that's something that you picked up also very intimately. And one more thing also you mentioned that really struck me, right, is your mindset towards failure rejections, about saying yes to yourself. Yeah, tell us more about that.
Okay, I've always been a firm believer, right? You may not be the smartest, the best, or the most everything, but the first person to tell you no cannot be yourself. You may think the whole world, every single corporation, every B2B, every customer is going to say no to you, but you cannot be the first one who say, okay, I can't do this. You need to be the first believer in yourself so that people will believe in you. That was my mindset, and it's still my mindset.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I put down here. Saying yes to yourself, because I quoted it. I'm going to use it, borrow it from now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. In our previous Zoom meeting, I think you said that. I was like, wow, that's a solid mindset. You got to say yes to yourself, because, like I said, no one's going to... I mean, I hate to bring up this TikTok thing that I think it was by... I can't remember which lady said it, but she said no one's going to start a business, no one's going to help you out, no one's going to come and pay your bills. Something like that. People use the audio and plug over their motivational journeys, right? I mean, TikTok is for this guy, including that Dwayne Johnson thing that is about height, is about power thing, right? That devouring stuff, right?
Yes.
Anyway, it is, I guess, in some sense about the grind, right? Entrepreneurship is about that. Okay, I think we're coming to the close of this podcast. Just some final stuff, right? Talk to me about your corporate experience. Right, how do you kind of get the best of both worlds there? Talk to me about experience in Shiseido, working there, what do you like about it, and just your future plans.
Okay, so I think one of the things which I love working about in Shiseido is, so I came from this startup, from SPINOFF, and when I really first entered the corporate world, the first thing I really loved was the leadership. Okay. The female leadership there was, I felt like I stepped into the Amazon. The ladies there, they are so inspiring. Some of them, it's not just, we talk about startups as if it's only you can do a one thing, but then I saw my coworkers with kids, kids, a side hustle and a full-time job.
Right.
So these ladies which I've met, they are so inspiring, Kevin.
Yeah.
The way they time manage, the way they talk to me, the empathy that they've shown me, it was one of the most valuable things, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like it's really something which I hold very near and dear to my heart.
I feel it when you're talking to me.
Really?
I don't say like, I want to meet them now. You know, wow. Yeah, I mean, I love how you communicate that essence across. It's really powerful. And you said entrepreneurship has never left you, right? So it's really about applying those principles to your work. And like you said, in the future, maybe going back to a side hustle. Who knows, right? Okay, great. Yeah, I think we're coming to the end. Just one last question, one last message for students. Yeah, before we close for today.
I don't know if I can say it.
You say it out, I say it, don't worry. We can censor a bit.
Oh, okay. I think like it's more of if you are thinking of going into startups and you are thinking to join like a startup first, I think a lot of it is you really you have to not give a about a lot of things. like you have to really streamline the amount of things you can care about. Because in a startup, there's already too many things that you have to care about. You cannot care about what other people think, and the business needs, and the consumer needs. There's just too many things you have to care about. So one of the big advice is, if you have an idea, don't let anybody tell you no. Just try it first and let the results show. If it's really not workable, then what can you do about it? Just get started, and it doesn't have to be like. At the time when I was, in my earlier days, I thought that, there's a right time to do something. But the truth of the matter is there's never a right time. If you feel like there's this thing which you can do, just do it. And one last thing, I think with entrepreneurship, there's no one way to do it. You don't have to be the next Steve Jobs or like Elon Musk. Like they had their own way of doing it. So, you have to create your own version of what entrepreneurship means to you, be it a side hustle, then becoming a big startup, or a small startup, several small startups. You have to create your own kind of entrepreneurship, and that's your value and the value you bring to the world. And that's something you can only do. Yeah.
That's a fantastic end to this podcast. Really, really exemplifies the tenets of entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. And I really wish you all the best. Yeah, let me know if you ever start a vending machine thing again. I might invest some into it if you want to try it out.
I didn't realize this was a pitching session.
Oh, yeah. And of course, to those of you listening, right, like, really feel free to reach out to Yiting if it really inspires you. I'm sure some of you will be inspired. So yeah, reach out to her. I'm sure she's open to it. I'm going to put you a plug on Instagram. And of course, follow us as well if you enjoy the episodes on Rebound and Resilience and SPINOFF. And with that, stay resilient and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.